urban trails. Be careful, as people on urban trails move very fast at very high speeds in vehicles that can hurt you. The biggest urban trail being Pacific Coast Highway, originally a footpath. Now it was constructed into a highway in 1929 named Roosevelt Highway. Now it's a very busy urban trail, and you just want to be especially careful crossing that trail. Look both ways. Air quality. We actually want to encourage you to breathe especially deep, as the air is often nicer, fresher, and cleaner here on the affluent west side compared to more inland parts of the county. So breathe in. Water quality. It's generally safe to swim. You want to be especially careful though after heavy rains, as stormwater does rush right into the ocean, and there can be dangerously high counts of E. coli. So be careful about that. Last but not least, be aware, less so on this beach, but security guards are commonly seen on the beaches of Malibu. If you're encountered by one, let us, a ranger, we'll talk to them, and we should be fine today. There's a couple of basic beachcraft tools. We have several of these. We want to encourage you, you might want to bring these as you come to the beach in Malibu in the future. A copy of the California Constitution actually will come in handy. Tape measure. Tape measures are definitely come in handy. Public easement maps from the Coastal Commission, which we have, and we're going to show you how to use.
So this beach has both public and private property on it, okay? We are going to stay on public property and public lands at all time, and a lot of the point of today is to show you how to do that, so you can come here without us and do that for yourselves. And we'd like you to please be very careful about listening to us to tell you where those boundaries are, okay? We do not expect any conflicts at all with the people who live next door to the public beaches. However, incidents of territoriality are not unknown on these beaches. And we just ask that if there is any problem, if anybody asks you anything at all or confronts you in any way, that you come and get a ranger to handle it.
Just stay on the wet sand here.
In California, all beaches are public below the mean high tide line. It's in the state constitution that the public owns the tidelands and that private development cannot interfere with public access to the tidelands. In 1976, the California Coastal Act codified this and laid out all the procedures by which beachfront communities like Malibu have to maximize access to. The mean high tide line is the average high tide over the last 18.6 years. Okay, so now you guys know where the dividing line is. Who can show me where the mean high tide line is? Last 18.6 years. Who can show me?
I need a map.
Let's see. Nobody knows where the mean high tide line is, okay? Because for a couple of reasons. One is that we've taken an oceanographic cycle that is constantly changing, and we've used it to establish a legal boundary. The other is that the only people who can tell us where it is are the State Lands Commission, and they're not down here measuring it every day to tell us where. Therefore, the accepted, on-the-ground, working definition of the public-private boundary is the last high tide line. It's called the daily high water line, which is basically the last high tide. Basically, it's the wet sand. You can walk in wet sand. So the best way to find it is actually look up and down the beach and see where that line is.
What's going on
See
out
where the
here?
dark brown is, right? Nick, Ron, you want to? So, okay, so that's the.
You guys consider this a public beach?
Why don't you guys?
Can you guys need to?
Seriously.
Sometimes the homeowners give alarm
Such a
calls
bunch of scumbags.
when we're down
You should
here.
look at yourself in the mirrors and realize
This is what we
you guys
need.
are scumbags. I'm trying to make a point, dude. You guys
Okay,
are such a bunch
so
of scumbags.
anyway,
You're
I'm just
part
going
of
to
it.
keep going here.
What performance?
Okay.
We live here. I've lived my parents' had a house for 25
Yeah,
years.
pretty
You know
much.
what? You guys are all
Excuse me.
You're a
We're on
scumbag,
public.
lady.
Yeah, I am.
It's
We're
a
on
high
public
tide.
lands.
What, a
and you're
median
harassing
lie?
us, and we're going to
I'm
report
not
it if you
harassing.
don't leave.
Report me if you want, you ugly
right.
old lady, dude. Look at all you people. Go back to the valley. Go back
Well,
to the
I'm really sorry to be
What point are you trying to make? Standing in front of our house on 4th of July. Are you making a great point? You guys all feel good about yourself?
Y'all, we're on public lands, okay? We're completely occasionally. Unfortunately. All right, y'all. Just let it go. Let it go. I'm sorry. To the wet sand all being public, a lot of the dry sand is also available for public use. Every single one of these beaches has significant numbers of what we call public easements on the dry sand, okay? And what a public easement is when a homeowner does significant development. In order to get a permit for doing that, that's considered to be an impediment to public access, and they're often required to basically designate a piece of their dry sand as a public easement, okay? So, where are the public easements? Do you guys see this beach has 56 public easements. 56. Do you guys see any of the public easements? Can you tell me where the public easements are? No. Okay. Nobody knows where the public easements are. However, the Coastal Commission has maps for two beaches, Broad Beach and Carbon Beach. And this is Carbon Beach. And we have those maps today, and we're going to start using them. Now, this house right here and this house right here, they both have public easements. So let's go stand on the public easement, get comfortable with that before we really get going. There have been efforts in Malibu, not consistent, but some efforts to minimize public access to the public beach. And these efforts have a long history. They go back to the late 1800s, the early 1900s, when the last owner of the Malibu Rancho took the wagon road that went along the coast that would eventually become the PCH and put a lock on the gate to Malibu, something that's been known to happen in more recent times as well. She then spent the next about 20-25 years fighting the railroad, fighting to keep the PCH out, and basically the legal cost of those battles drove them into bankruptcy. And in order to keep hold of the rancho, they started leasing cottages to movie stars. And that would eventually become the Malibu Movie Colony, and that was really the first other development on the beach. Okay, so that's the first private development on the beach. Fast forward to about the 1970s, and you have 20 of the 27 miles of Malibu are lined with private development, and it's getting to a point where it's just wall with locked gates in between all the houses. Enter the California Coastal Act of 1976. They start to punch through that wall, create access ways to give people their legal right to public access to the public lands. And we now have 16 access ways. The state standard is an access way every 1,000 feet. By the state standards, for every access way, we would have 5 more. But we do have 16, and that's a real accomplishment. Privacy buffer, some of them have a 5-foot privacy buffer, some of them are all the way to structure. This is not Easy.
Get on girls, hate it, grip your bitches or always get on girls. Shake it, shake it, break it, what are they doing? Get on girls, take it, that dick. And sweet, sweet, I roll my Dutch thick, I can spit my verse quick, don't trip. On this Philly shit, we keepin' it sick. We got the fly behind, hustle and grindin'. You gotta sit the right time, you get it from behind. And just you know, I'm just throw my legs to anybody, you can get anytime. Monday night, it's just a 30 minute window when you take it again. We switch each other's circle, we're sticking it in. Try to set someone because of that.
Green